I'm Erin Kane. I have the privilege of serving as Superintendent of Schools for Douglas County School District. We're here today to address a topic that's always on everyone's mind, especially as we kick off a new school year, and that is the safety and security of our students and staff. So I'm here today with Director of Safety and Security, Johnny Grusing, and to talk about safety and security in our schools. Welcome, Johnny.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Johnny, tell us a little bit about your background. I would love for our public to hear your background and what brought you here to Douglas County.
Worked for the FBI for 25 years prior to coming on with the district. I come from a family of educators. My mom was in education for 30 years at the elementary school level, and my wife is now currently working in the district in middle school. She's been working as a middle school teacher as long as we've been married. I decided to retire from the FBI after working 23 of my years in violent crime and come to the district about this time last year. And I've had a chance to see what safety and security is not only for Douglas County but for our surrounding counties. Then we have learned best practices that we're doing, but also best practices from other districts as well.
Talk a little bit about our, I think you call it our three-pronged approach, where we do prevention, hardening. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I first took the job, I partnered with mental health very closely because I had known Dr. Crawford before and her reputation. I also knew that the district had received a lot of mental health resources in the last couple of years. And I knew that helping each of our students maintain their balance, keep them on a healthy pathway, was the best way to not only keep the students safe, but us safe as well. So that's one of the first steps I did, was partner with mental health. And from there then, I got out my first year to meet with all the principals and their staffs, because each school is a little community. And my goal was and remains to customize our security and safety to best fit each school.
That's great. Tell us a little bit about the relationship that our district has with law enforcement. I know at the superintendent level we have a really great relationship with law enforcement across our county and are in close communication whenever something is going on. From a safety and security perspective, though, I'd love to have you talk to us a little bit about how law enforcement participates in our trainings, participates at our schools, monitors our schools. We'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so I got to sit in on some of Douglas County's summer training this year, and it was fantastic. They train not only for if something goes wrong inside of a school, they have to respond, how best tactically to respond, how safely to respond. They went to even some expert training out of state that the district paid for through county commissioner funds. And that's just part of their training. Most of their training is how to deal well with students. And I got to sit in on some of that as well, whether it's the mental health or disabilities or seeing students well, being a mentor, being a friend. That is a lot of their training. So while a lot of people get to take off during the summer, our SROs aren't, and they're very vested in making sure that each one of their schools are safe. They have a lot of school pride as well. You know who's at Ponderosa and who's at Castle Rock Middle School. So it was good to see them even in the off season, as we would say, training to keep our kids safe.
And when we do drills in our schools, which I know you do, especially at the beginning of the year, you're personally in most of our schools conducting drills with our staff and training with our staff. We also have law enforcement participate in those as well, don't we?
We do. Yeah. And so what will happen in our schools is we meet with the staff ahead of time. We've already briefed the staff on what is safety and security this year, our goals, but for sure it's what are our procedures during something like a lockdown. And we walk them through best practices for lockdowns. And that's what we do in the summer also. We are studying to make sure we're doing the best drills that we can, and we improve each year upon what we're doing. So once we have that meeting in the morning, then we have drills we go through the day, and our law enforcement partners meet us there. And this year it's been pretty neat because even patrol has been coming. You have SROs that are assigned to the school as well as their commanders but our patrol has been coming in case they ever have to respond. And so we just go room to room. We go in and we announce ourselves, and we see the teacher there with the kids. I'm in the elementary levels now, and that's the most fun for me because they're all sucking on lollipops or drawing. They barely even know a lockdown drill's going on, but the things that they're doing are keeping them safe. They're all seated and quiet. The teacher's the leader, and we just go from room to room and we assess and make sure that they're in a safe place and that their doors are functioning properly. It's basically an in-depth safety check every time we do those with our local partners.
One of the things I've heard you talk about is that our kids are truly safe, at least based on history, behind a locked door. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that looks like in our schools?
Yeah, so there's two layers, and you had mentioned the layered approach before. The first layer is the prevention piece on where we're dealing with a student when that student's going through harmful thoughts or behaviors. So that's even extends to the house itself. Our next layer of protection is the hardening of the school, and that would be the outer layer, be it windows, doors, alarms. And then we have the inner layer, which is all of the classroom doors. And so our model is the standard response protocol. And in standard response, 90% of the schools, districts use it throughout Colorado. It is that you must have your locks, lights, and you're out of sight. And this year, after studying what happened in Uvalde, but not only that, but the FBI has studied 20 years of these sort of incidents, it comes back to the very basics, which is a locked door has never been breached. And we are just really hitting that with each staff. They were already there after their own summer in-services, but we're just making sure that every door functions and that every door is locked. And we're assuring teachers that from all the nationwide studies, and that's even our law enforcement partners when they went to training this summer, they found the same thing even out of state at a national training, that if you're behind a closed and locked door, you are safe, and therefore you can just calm down, be a classroom leader, everybody's seated, and wait for law enforcement to do their thing.
So, Johnny, we use the Standard Response Protocol, or SRP, in our district. And there are 5 postures for the Standard Response Protocol. Can you tell us a little bit about those 5 postures?
So the Standard Response Protocol was developed by the I Love You Guys Foundation, and even some of our principals sit on that board, as well as it's a national institution now. And they have morphed this over the years after a lot of studying. So a hold just means like a mess in the hallway or something that is maybe keeping traffic from going through. And a hold it's a newer one of the Standard Response Protocol postures, but it just means just hold for that area. It doesn't mean that something very dangerous is happening at all in the school. The other is secure, and so our schools often go into secure because of coyotes in our area. It can also be, though, law enforcement or fire responding to something even in the neighborhood around our school. And secure just means that we are securing the outer perimeter of the school, meaning the outside doors, and not letting anybody in or out, but as business as usual. A lockdown drill is if there is some sort of threat inside of the school, and that can be a lot of different things. But the teachers are not concerned about what's going on outside of the school, they're concerned about what's going on inside, and that's why the interior doors being closed and locked are so important. And once they get those doors closed and locked, they are then moving to an area of the classroom that is safe. And that's what we assess with local law enforcement on what is the best part of the classroom to be in. They're seated and they're out of sight. So as long as we're looking at those models, then we just move from classroom to classroom. But we're looking at windows and doors and all those things as we go. Evacuate, they get a lot of practice on. The fire code is that the school has to practice and evacuate once a month. So in an evacuation, it doesn't have to be a fire. It can be a chemical leak or spill or smoke or sometimes burnt popcorn. But whatever it is, if something is going on in the school and they need to get students out, they practice getting them out in a very orderly, calm fashion and staging in a certain area of their field. If a parent receives a notice that a school is in shelter in place, that just means that there's lightning or something going on outside and that the building is just going to wait until something like a storm passes. But normally it comes during pickup time, so they've just got to be patient. When one of these 5 postures occurs, the district sends out communications to the family members of the student, and that can happen in any way from an email, a text, or a phone call to let them know that a posture is happening, and then once the posture is done.
That's great. And I know our families often receive, in particular, secure, especially with so many wild animals or the kind of wildlife that we have here in Colorado and certainly here in Douglas County. We often hear from teachers concerns about just how much teaching has changed over the years, and now they're how much they feel at risk given what's happened around our country. How safe is it to be a teacher?
Well, you and I spoke about this summer because you received a lot of calls from parents and teachers, and then the ones that involve safety and security, I handled them from our district as well. And that caused me to go back to some of my cohorts in the FBI, some people that I depended upon for research, and they pointed me in a couple different directions to see if schools are a safe place like we think they are, and that teachers are safe and therefore students are safe, statistically, outside of what we think. So for our students, I looked at specifically Colorado, but I also looked at the whole nation as well, as far as where intentional harm, maybe even death would come to students. So the opposite would be, where are they the safest? And I found that in the home and around cars, that's where 80% of these awful things happen. And when you look at the graph, and it's Colorado Department of Public Health, where anybody's welcome to research, for the last 17 years, schools are the safest place for them. And I actually called a friend of mine who's a superintendent out west and told him about this, and he says, well, I'm not surprised. We do training, we control access, and we have an advantage over all your other public places. So it's not really fair. We're making the fight unfair to keep kids safe at school.
Because we're being so proactive and taking so many measures to keep them safe. How about our teachers? Yeah,
and you and I both spoke with some teachers that were concerned this summer. So I also looked at Colorado Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and even at some nationwide studies as well. And it's kind of fun for me. I love to give people quizzes because I hate quizzes. But so when we do our standard response protocol training in person, I ask the staff, what is the most dangerous job in the United States? And I've gotten all sorts of responses, from a pirate to a teacher. But a lot of I'd say half of our staff thinks teacher is up there because of what's been in the media. But actually, when you look at the stats, a logger right now, and it changes from year to year, but if you work with heavy equipment like that, it's very dangerous. So like 7 of the top 10 are working with heavy equipment. And then if you go to the least dangerous, it's a computer programmer. And as I joke around, you don't have to deal with people or paper if you're one of those, computer programmers. But the second safest job in the country is being a teacher. And it's for the same reasons that my friend mentioned. If we have controlled access, we have training, we create an environment of safety that's not fair compared to other occupations.
We sure do. Yeah, and we work really hard here every day to make sure that we're continuing to evolve and learn and make sure that we're taking all of the latest and greatest measures that make sense for our school district in order to keep our kids safe. So actually, speaking of what makes sense for our school district, we still get asked all the time if we have plans to arm our teachers here in Douglas County School District. And I've consistently said that we do not have plans to arm our teachers, and that it is my view that that is not necessary in the context of Douglas County School District because we take so many other measures and because of the incredible partnerships we have with law enforcement. What are your views on that topic?
Well, Erin, it would just create a challenge for the district and a challenge for our local law enforcement partners. When they came back with their training this summer, I saw how they would respond in case of an incident, and it's an aggressive response. And to have to integrate a teacher would be very difficult. So that's on the law enforcement side, and they've told me that. The other side is on the district side. So when we're practicing these lockdown drills, the teacher is the leader of the classroom, and the teacher is to stay there with the children throughout the drill. And so if a teacher's leaving that room, that's dangerous for the kids.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just those two things are a challenge to me, and I think there are more, but those are the two that come to mind.
Do you feel like that would be a layer that is necessary in the context of our school district to keep our kids safe?
Not when I look at how we're approaching it. I think the prevention, I would say, is 80% of what we're doing to keep our kids safe. The hardening is about 15%, and I leave the response piece to our law enforcement.
Yeah.
That's why they train. And if we had an outlying school that was 20 minutes away to where none of our law enforcement could get there, that might change how I think. But we have patrol that have even tightened more and more each year, and this year we have the most patrol hitting our elementary schools, and we have hired more patrol armed on our district for us as well. And our armed patrol has been integrating with the law enforcement patrol to make sure we are just constantly hitting these schools. So the response time would be so minimal.
We've had armed patrol, as in that's part of their job description and part of what they do for safety security in our district, certainly for as long as I can remember, at least 20 plus years. How many of those folks do we have?
We have 4 slots. We are in the process of hiring a 4th. We have 3 now.
And what does their background generally look like?
They all have law enforcement background, some very extensively. One was a chief of police before he came to us.
That's great. That's great. And I very much appreciate that added layer from your department to integrate with our law enforcement officers to make sure that we're covering all of our schools. And really, I appreciate everything that you do day in and day out to keep our kids safe. So thank you so much for joining me and for being willing to talk about this topic with me and with our families and our staff.
Thanks, Erin, for having me.
Appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening to this version of Super's Vision. We're really excited to have you. I hope this was helpful to learn more about what our district does around safety and security. Thank you so much.